Here I'm just finishing off running a cable. This is a cable for a computer which is on the far side of the house. That's my current goal, all the way the other side. And we'll be running that all the way back to the network closet, as well as a cable for my gaming computer, which will also be run to the network closet. Now that I've got a little bit of time and a screwdriver, finally I can hook my sub back up. After all this moving and stuff, I've had to pull out my sub and amp just so that I've got enough space in here to move things. But now I can finally bring it all back into action and listen to my music. Really fast, doing things so really fast, really fast, really fast, really fast. There we go. Easy as that. These cables may look a bit thick and chunky considering it's only going to one single 800 watt amp, but upgrading to these from the smaller 4 or 8 gauge cables, I can't remember what size they were, there was a noticeable performance improvement. Because these cables are able to bring all that power back here with so much more ease, and also these are actually copper, where the other ones were either copper plated or just straight up like a silver or tin or something else, which doesn't conduct electricity as well. Alright, doesn't necessarily make it any easier to roll the chair around, but it is going to help protect the nice new carpet that's in this house. Shh, silent mail time, where I get a smart light, a couple smart plugs, and a gigabit passive PoE injector, de-injector thingy. Is that the right name? Now, at this stage, I've got a 48 port gigabit edge core smart switch, partially. And I'm looking to change that out with a 24 port gigabit PoE switch. Now, this is also a TP-Link switch, specifically a Jetstream smart switch, which is supposedly compatible with my TP-Link Omada router. Now, I don't know what that's gonna do, if that even matters, because I'm not using it as a smart switch specifically, but maybe it'll allow some sort of communication between the devices so that not as much traffic has to travel through the single network cable that goes to this router. Now, with this change coming into effect, I'll be able to take out this PoE switch that I've got here. It's only a 10100 switch, and there's only 8 ports on it. One of which I think is faulty, but seems to work most of the time. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I'm also thinking of mounting a couple of these, which are gigabit PoE injectors. Not sure what the big difference is between the two types, but I've got 3 of these little modules, so I could at least mount 2 of them in there, and then I'll just have to order one more from AliExpress. But that said, I do also have these, which I got from Mail Time before. I wonder if these are actually compatible. These might even be compatible. But the funny thing is the thing that I'm thinking of connecting up with that, which is this NVR card, which is not in its box. It only requires 100 megabit connection because it's only a 16 channel card, where once you exceed 16 channels you definitely need gigabit, unless the card is specifically made for higher resolution cameras, in which case you would need gigabit for the smaller card. But anyway, that's max is 100 meg. I don't know how I missed that, but this is 2 loud fans. And the documentation that I read, which was obviously the wrong documentation, said that it was fanless and passive cooling, which accounted for some of its size, considering a lot of 24-port switches, I mean admittedly not usually smart switches, usually dumb switches, are smaller than this. Case in point here, this is a 24-port gigabit dumb switch, and this is my 24-port, well actually technically it goes up to 28 because of the 4 SFP ports here. But in any case, this is far too loud to be put in there. Now, this network switch has been on for a good 20 minutes now, and it hasn't gotten any quieter. So I think I'm just going to pull it apart and see what I can do about it.
Don't copy this.
Alright, that's all the high voltage stuff. Don't want to be touching any of that because these capacitors could still be fully charged. Now, looking at this, it seems that those 2 fans are the only fans, and it is quite a nice and simple board in here. There's nothing too complicated going on. Now, of course, the thing about this switch is it's made to be in an enterprise setting. So it's either going to be in and amongst other switches and rack mountable hardware, which will also be generating a lot of heat. So this will have to be able to dissipate that heat as well as its own heat. So it's already expecting things are going to be a bit hot. But the thing is where it's sitting right now, I've got a Raspberry Pi sitting in that wardrobe, door closed all day, hottest day, and it only hits 56 degrees Celsius. And of course its lowest is only like 52 degrees Celsius on a cold night. So temperature is stable, not the coldest, but it's stable. And the thing is ramping up those fans isn't going to make it any colder. So I might try the simple trick of unplugging one fan and powering it on. So this is the startup fan value. It is reasonably loud, but it's honestly not horrendously loud. Now I can see here, this is well labeled. This is the 12 volt line, and this is a 53.5 volt line. That's 4 amps. This is 2 amps. So I'd say this 12 volt line is what powers basically everything in the switch, and this other line will be for the PoE, passing out PoE and stuff over the lines. Having a quick peek in here, everything seems pretty well set. That looks like plastic. Is that a plastic? Or maybe it's a ceramic. Okay. So I just heard the fans slow down a little bit. And there's definitely some harmonics going on. I'm going to see if just taking out one fan is going to be much of an impact. Now the problem with taking out one fan and just simply unplugging it like this is it could actually trigger other issues. Like the board. Oh, there we go. It's just slowed down even more. So the board might see that a fan is unplugged, which will give an error. I'm going to leave that alone. It's just, come on. Oh, no. Well, I've unplugged one fan, and it's still quite loud. Now, physically taking out these fans has made the sound a whole lot quieter because, of course, like I said before, it's all about the harmonics of this case and these fans. Now, just holding this fan, it is super vibrating. So there really should have been some sort of rubber grommets or something on it, because if I hold this, it's turning the switch into a bit of a speaker for this fan, meaning this fan is making a whole lot of noise and it's just resonating through this switch like crazy, which is what's causing all of this audible issues. Wow, little mail time. Classic package in a package. Little Zigbee temperature humidity sensor I'm trialing out. I'm looking for one that I can plug into USB so that I don't have to change batteries all the time, because that's really annoying. And one that also updates the sensor at least every 10 seconds. I've currently got one that is updating like every second, and it's got more than just the temperature and humidity, and it's sort of bogging down my Zigbee network, which is I guess not a big deal right now because there's only a handful of things on there. But as the Zigbee network grows, latency will suffer due to just too many things being on the network. This seems heavy enough that it might have batteries in it. It has no batteries in it, but it's reasonably heavy. See, things where it's got space for batteries to be in it like this should also have a USB port in there with the little notch taken out so that I can plug it in with USB. You know, all I want is just this basic, simple little sensor. It's just so difficult to actually find. And this is just a reasonably simple human presence sensor. So this is a PIR sensor as well as one of those human wave sensor majiggers. So this does a little bit of both. Last but not least, I'm quite sure I know what this is. So this is a 30 watt Zigbee LED floodlight. Comes with some mounting hardware to mount it into the brick, I think. Here this nice little light is. As you can see, this bottom row is red, then you've got blue above that, then you've got green above that. It's got a little bit of smush on it. Not the cleanest in there. Anyway, so it goes red, blue, green, cool white, and then warm white, and that's what most of it is. I'd say a good, 75% of it. This should end up being actually quite bright. This is also IP66, but this will be going in my garage. See, it's quite dark in here, and I've got this one single light for this whole entire area. It makes absolutely no sense. Admittedly, this garage door thing here has a light on it, but that's nowhere near bright enough for me. At night time, I would like it to be reasonably bright in here so that I could even, work on some project or something. I don't know. So I'm thinking I'll get 5 or 6 more of these, and I'll mount them all around on the roof in the garage, which will also give me some vague grouping that I could do with them so that certain areas of the garage end up nice and bright. And of course it's RGB, just because RGB is so cool. No, it's not. So. Now, because it's got this, I think, English plug on it with these 2 rounded off prong things sticking out, I'll be able to use my anything plug, which can be plugged in anywhere in the world and have anything plugged into it, in order to actually power this thing on and see what our response is. Hey, that's already super bright. It's taking a while. The box says it is a Zigbee light. Which LEDs are being lit up? Just the cool white ones, yeah. Wow, wow.
As you can tell, some time is passing.
Now, this is why I only ordered one. I wasn't actually sure that the light was going to be good enough or sort of the right kind, but it turns out the light is great. But the wireless protocol that it uses is completely wrong. It's using Wi-Fi where I want to use Zigbee. Quite quick reacting there. Let's see what colors are like. Yeah, colors are a whole lot darker. But still pretty good actually. How dim can this go? It's quite dim, actually. That is quite reasonably dim. And then off. Setting up local Tuya on Home Assistant isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, but I guess once you sort of know what you're doing, it's pretty easy to do. I couldn't really find any tutorials, at least not videos, that would sort of show the whole process through. It would show for something simple like a smart plug that would turn off and on, which was super easy to connect up, just like being able to turn that light off and on. Super easy. Just use the default settings. But in terms of actually being able to change between the color modes, color temperature, brightness, and the different colors, it was a bit more involved than just following the default settings. I had to go on to the development page of the Tuya service and actually look at it device specifically just to see how I could implement it properly, because it's not just plug and play, hit next, 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 you're good to go.